Oh dear. If you stuck with me this far, great. If you're on my Facebook page, it is public. Philip Robinson. There'll be two pictures. One of me laying down, one of me sitting up. You want the one of me laying. You want the one of me sitting up. Um, that's the Facebook I'm using at the moment. But anyway, we're going talking about this Microsoft Edge thing. It says application executable. Now exe stands for executable file. And this one was created on the 11th of April 2002. So it was created last year. It was modified 2 days ago on the 31st of August, and then accessed today, just now. Right. It doesn't tell me what it is. It's a 64-bit program. But it worries me a little bit because I wonder, because I went online, I went for a nap earlier, I felt a bit tired, the police came out and we had a conversation about how they're not investigating things. Didn't do anything, just got in the car and drove off. Still didn't take a statement, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. Anyway, they came out they called it a health safety inquiry about me. So they came out to have a word for my safety, etc, etc, etc. But like my lawyer told me, they aren't my friends. Although to be fair, I see them as acquaintances or friends because I don't really have an issue with the police. I just have an issue with the way that they pick and choose and shrug their shoulders at people and the way that they are. And the way they go about their job, when their job is to do their job wholeheartedly, and it doesn't matter, every crime that's an arrestable crime should arrest people. The only problem is, what I'm going to say is going to get used to try and grant more government funding for the police and start a recruitment drive. They're understaffed and underpaid and they can't do it. So what's the point in the police? Okay? We'll get back to the police in a minute. Before people start thinking shit with colours, oh, it's in a coffin! Fuck off. Right? So the digest algorithm is Sierra Hotel Alpha 256. Sierra Hotel Alpha 256. It was updated at 8 o'clock in the morning. My computer wasn't even switched on at 8 o'clock in the morning. The lid was closed and it was off. It would have been something that I would have had to upload it myself. I don't think it was anyway. This is why I put things on YouTube, to monitor what I'm doing. And then nobody can tell me, no, you didn't put it there, Philip. I'm like, yeah, I did. Right. So previous versions, there are no previous versions, which, if this was updated on the 31st, surely there'd be a the 11th of April one would be there for the previous version. Okay, so we're going to the security. Now it is a read and execute, so apparently this program can read and execute software and then read the hard drive. So they're the only two permissions it's got. So let's see if we can, I don't really, groups username, all application packages, all restricted application packages, account unknown, account unknown, account unknown, account unknown, account unknown. So these are a bit suspect to me. And it comes in the Chrome exe. Let's have a look at hidden stuff. Attributes. Oh no, it's attribute in it. Details. So, like I said to the person on the phone the other day, anything, if anybody was watching that video, did I record it with my conversation? Lottie, don't be eating the envelopes of viruses. Freaking daft dog. What's on there? Oh yeah. But anyway, she's not a daft dog, she's a lovely dog. So basically, the product versions are exactly the same. So if you're going into binary coding, you can take the standard coding that Microsoft downloads, and if you can capture that off the Wi-Fi or anything like that, then you can alter the data packets that transfer from one to another. This is my only understanding of computers. Right? And then it can be altered and the computer recognises it and the virus scan won't detect it. But the virus scan will stop it and slow it down. Because when it starts doing, because virus scans don't have any characteristic nodes, they just go for things where it's not. If a virus scanner, so for example McAfee or Norton, has a behavior, a program behavior modification, and you haven't made any modifications to the program, you would be able to then thing it. But now, let's get on to the description. Now, I wonder, since Max Verstappen won the Formula 1 Grand Prix, right, so it's time to spiral them round. What I would say to you is Oracle is Lotte, Silas, plug it in. Is a computer software company, a bit like CrowdStrike that's with Mercedes. So they're two computer software companies, so they know all about binary coding, how to do these kind of things, just like Blizzard and places like that. Don't ask me what's what, but I know the basics to spot when something's not right. I've had enough computers that when I used to download music or download films I wanted to see rather than watch them, I used to have to go into these things when the computer was acting up. But yeah, now I can't show you, but I will be showing you later on Thinger. Now these are official things. There's also a Windows host, a console host. So if anybody that's not familiar with what a Windows console looks like, I can't remember command prompts, but I remember I used to be able to do this by command prompts because I used to live next door to a sound engineer, and he taught me about the way speakers work in an auditorium and about how to set them up, X, Y and Z. And then he taught me about command prompts when my computer wasn't working, and he helped me get into my startup system. I said, my computer's going really slow. He said, go into your startup system and have a look at it. So I went into my startup system. I've deleted loads of programs out of my startup, so not many programs start up on my startup. So this is what kind of flashes up. Disconnect from the internet a minute. I'll unplug my phone.
Lottie, come on.
So this flashes up for like literally a second. This is the dialog box that flashes up, which is command prompt, which means there's a live active connection to your computer. And there's an executable file that can run within your computer. And the fan started running. And then the fan started speeding up. So they either increased the processes or attempted to overclock the BIOS, one way or another. So I mean, I don't get why they're cheating and why they're trying to stop me from watching Formula 1, whether it be on Channel 4. I mean, maybe the TV networks and Red Bull and Mercedes and the whole FIA can explain why you won't let me watch Formula 1. I can watch Formula 1 as much as I like. But the thing is, I think that you might, I don't know if it's one of the things that Formula 1's dying and they're worried about Formula 1 dying because it's all going to electric vehicles anyway. But yeah. So and it's a Lenovo laptop, and Lenovo sponsor Formula One races. It was on the thing last week. It was all over it. It was on the side barriers, but it might be one of them digital ones where they just digitalise, like football for different countries. But in the UK, Lenovo is up on the barriers for advertising. So Lenovo is one of Formula One's sponsors. Well, endorsements, shall we say. So maybe they could explain to me, well, why not? Now my McAfee internet security has gone down. Right, okay, so we're going to troubleshoot the computer now. We're just going to hold the power button and shut it down. Disconnect the internet. So CrowdStrike is a firewall kind of system. Oracle are more of not a firewall type of system or antivirus. They're more of along the lines of, why didn't it work? Restart. I might have pressed the button too late. And basically, what might have happened is Oracle is a computer system with an artificial intelligence, I reckon. The only problem is they're fucking it up with BT, and they're fucking it up with stores and other things, if it is them. I've tried to take my phones and my laptops to shops and I say, can you go into the kernel on here and trace the IP address of what's going on? Because there's a kernel, there's a code that can control the phone. I know where the guess is from the access points, but I don't know properly, and they go, no, we can't. So it's not like in America, what you see on these American TV shows where you can, where you can walk into a shop and say, by the way, can you follow, like Prison Break, and they say, by the way, can you follow the bug in my phone and tell me where it's coming from? They don't do stuff like that. So let's connect to the internet and have a look at Oracle brand. So let's have a look. See, in the startup, my VPN should automatically come on, but it's not. So it's not booting from the startup program. So I have to manually do it. Oh no, it is on. It's on. But I have to manually open it to make sure. The computer doesn't tell me. Oracle, that's what I was looking at. Do you know what? If I didn't grow up when I was a kid so misogynistic, I'd have had the world at my fingertips a long time ago. So they are based in Reading on Riverside Road. Oh no, that's a shopping centre. Wrong one. Okay, so the name tech firm Oracle as a title sponsor is $500 million, according to ESPN. So, who is Oracle Red Bull sponsor? Any chance of a job where I can learn on the phone? So basically, The Red Bull Formula One team has secured a new title sponsorship worth around $500 million, with technology firm Oracle placing it among the most lucrative commercial deals in sports. A lot of money at risk, isn't there? But anyway, what is it about? I mean, I'm just a little bit paranoid, a little bit tweaked out. I'm just trying to find, I don't know why I would say it would be them. Maybe it's because somebody quoted something that I said before, because I was quite being wise. I mean, you tell me why I think it's Formula One, because I don't know. I'm just sitting here and it's like, there's a thought in my head saying it's F1. It's the FIA. The FIA's doing it. The FIA's doing it. I mean, I wonder what... Yeah, but where's the link to the actual company? I'm going to type in. No, I'm not accepting cookies. I hate cookies. Advertising cookies do my head in. They just clog up your cache. There's no reason for them. Oracle computer software company. So what do they offer? Oh look, learning people. It doesn't even show up. Oh yeah, there it is. It's a cloud platform, apparently. What does Oracle Software Company do? JavaScript. So they fuck about with programs basically. JavaScript, everything runs on JavaScript. Your internet, JavaScript was the base. There was back in 2006, 2005. JavaScript was all the rage. You could not even run any web page without JavaScript. Through the company's four main business segments and cloud and licensed hardware and services, sells its cloud engineering services and systems and database management systems. So that's what they do. Oracle Corporation, there we go. In 2020, that's when they became the first. Yes, I know, a personal appeal. I don't really want to give you £2. Not yet. I ain't got £2 myself. It's an American multinational computer company headquartered in Austin, Texas. Third largest software company in market capitalization. The company sells where was I? Right, the company sells database software and technology, particularly its own brands, cloud engineering systems, enterprise software products such as enterprise resources and planning, human capital management, customer relationship management. Sounds like a pretty complex place if you ask me. Larry Ellison co-founded the Oracle company in 1977. Flipping heck, he must have had some of them disk things that span around for ages. Boop, 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 boop. How does the fuck does that shit still work? Thing is, if you got one of those today, because it's technology, it'd never appreciate until technology's dead. Stuff like that will never appreciate. No, until we're all in flying cars, it will never be actually worth hundreds of millions of thousands of pounds. I don't think it would be anyway, because it's useless. Has no purpose. Software development laboratories. Ellison took inspiration and then writ by. So he took inspiration. So took Edgar F. Codd on a relational database management system named a relation model of data for large shared data banks. He heard about the IBM system. So with IBM being tied into Windows, because that's how Bill Gates made his fortune on the contract signing, are they still in cahoots today? which is probably the reason why Apple is becoming more and more popular daily. On a daily basis, Apple stock is probably going through the roof. Although I prefer Dre Beats. So in an effort to compete with Amazon Web Service and its products, so its competitor, so it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So Amazon would be my friend. So in 2019, it was partnering with a former rival, Microsoft. I don't have any Oracle software within my computer or anything like that, so I don't really know what's going on. Thing is, it's like cannabis air. Does anybody know what cannabis air is? Good, great, you do. So you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this stuff. Right, enterprise management, file systems, logical volume management, BTFRS. This is like a crash course, man, in computer sciences. Computer sciences would be brilliant. Hardware. Speaking about computer sciences, I spotted something that I was going to get. I don't know whether to get it for like my nephew-in-law. So how much is a share in Oracle? So a share in Oracle is, the revenue is they have 49.954 million. Their net income in US dollars is, so they only take home 8,503,000 only. Price per share in 2022 was £87.21. See, this is why, like Donald Trump, he knows his stuff on this kind of shit. I don't really like him. I prefer Joe Biden a little bit better because Donald Trump was a clown, but then again, Donald Trump is that one, isn't he? He's just sort of like, I don't care, I'm just going to tell you how it is. America are fed up with the bullshit and lying politicians, whereas Joe Biden is a step back kind of a politician that's like, okay, let's deal with this democratically. There are some things that the people are better off not knowing, and I think that's why they don't like Trump. Because he doesn't do things. Plus, he's a major of a corporation company, and whatever he does in his personal life, I don't know. But personal life and private life are totally separate. Personal life and work life should be always kept completely separate. Shouldn't really matter. It's like if you're the president of the United States and you're like going snorting cocaine off a hooker's arse like frickin' Wolf of Wall Street, who's to tell him that he can't? Nobody. Can't break it, can't break in. Marketed many of it so it's can't break it, can't break in, or unbreakable. This signified a claim of information security. The corporation sounds like a challenge. I ain't gonna lie, that's in 2002, that sounded like a challenge. I bet someone broke into it. If I was a hacker and somebody turned around and said, Oracle Corporation marketed many of its projects using the slogan, so the false, to test, see if they've got trading standards right. See, testing the system, not going against the establishment, testing the system, being an enigma to the system on behalf of the establishment and on behalf of the companies. It kind of works, right? Anyway, many of its products using the slogan can't break it, can't break in, or unbreakable. This signified a claim of information security. However, 2 weeks after its introduction, David Litchfield and Alexander Kosmaros, Cesar Corrado, and others demonstrated the whole suite of successful attacks on Oracle products within 2 weeks. So let's say this within marketing, people. Don't say when you're marketing it's unbeatable, because that will just tempt somebody a bit like myself who has the know-how and go, Just get to work. You know what I mean? That say it's unbeatable because they'll be like, right, okay, crack, let's get to work. Crack the knuckles, and be like, let's get to work. You know what I mean? So it sounds like a bit like a challenge, especially when you're not harming anybody. Just to crack it, prove that you've cracked it, and you can see it and then share it back to the company itself. It's called ethical hacking. Do you see what I'm saying now? Most people have me all wrong, like I'm some psychopath and this, that, and the other. I'm not. I just get off on this fucking causing headache for people and causing a fucking mixing it up a little bit, but in a positive, impactful way. But anyway, that's by the by. It's what's it called? Tell me, in sociology, what's the type of criminal called? You've got like, deviance, yes, criminal deviance. That's the type of criminal I am. I'm a deviant type of criminal. Violations of Foreign Corrupt Policies Act. Oracle agreed to pay $2 million to the Secure Exchange Commission at the time that the company's India subsidiary structured transact. I've got to get this tooth fixed. I can talk properly. Structured transactions with foreign governments in a way that enabled them to hold about $2.2 million of the proceeds inside funds that could be for unauthorized purposes, and therefore being a violation of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. So if they have gone into anybody's computer, this wouldn't be the first time they've done it, so there's mitigation against Oracle. The United States Justice Department filed a suit against Oracle Corporation alleging fraud. The lawsuit argues that the government received deals inferior to those Oracle gave to its commercial clients. The DOJ DOJ added its heft to an already existing whistleblower lawsuit filed by Paul Francella, who was once a senior director of contract services. So that's two. That's twice. Whatever their reasons was a little bit different. I don't think the United States turned around and says, yeah, you can commit fraud, come and commit fraud, the door's open. Don't think they said that. And that's twice. Do you? Alright, background. But yeah, JavaScript. But anyway, as I was talking, and because I've had all these problems with my laptops and my computers and this, that and the other, I've sat there and I've gone online, right? And I've seen this thing, right? Kids nowadays sit there playing their computers, learning diddly squat, except for how to use a cheat code in Grand Theft Auto. Talk about how much money they're making in a computer game, right? Or playing Call of Duty or racing or whatever, right? Or even like me playing Resident Evil. It's not a bad thing. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing though. But if you're an introvert and you're a hermit, so for my lad, for Christmas, I want to get him a Raspberry Pi system where he has to build it himself, upload his own operating software, and begin to build his own programs with a program book. There are a couple of machines out there where you can build your own alarm system, you can do whatever, and then you can buy, and then if he gets into it maybe, or she gets into it, doesn't matter if you've got a son or a daughter, it's just an idea. I'm not saying you should do this with all your kids, I'm just promoting an educational use to an illegal tool. It's not an illegal tool, but you know. And anyway, it's sold out. It's that popular. It's sold out all over the web. I've gone on Google, sold out. Gone on eBay, sold out. Gone on Amazon, sold out. Gone on Facebook, sold out. Gone on Gumtree, not there. They're just not for sale anyway. And they're £97. which I think is a small price to pay for something where your child can get really creative. If they're a person that likes living behind closed doors and they don't like going out and mingling with people much, they're anxious, bullied kids. I know bullied kids should just like get out there and, you know, take their bruises and their lumps on a skateboard or a BMX and go and get swimming or whatever and go and get their own respect. And then once they get the respect, hopefully somebody will say, come down to the boxing gym, nobody will ever bully you again. Like Muhammad Ali was told by Malcolm X. In Malcolm X's, one of his speeches, Malcolm X turned around and said, we don't let people put hands on another brother, but if you see him putting his hands on a brother, we want to stop them and then make sure they never lay a hand on another brother ever again. And that's how he spoke. That can be, it depends how you interpret it. I wouldn't say that was anti-establishment. I would say that was standing up for weaker people and standing up for strong and being a strong leader and a strong man, and inspiring people. My inspirations come from elsewhere, but it resonated with me a little bit. You know what I mean? It kind of, and if you don't know what the word resonation means, I had to look it up on a motorbike. So when I was fixing up a motorbike, I was like, what's causing this freaking vibration on the wheel? It wasn't a bearing, it wasn't anything. Do you know what it turned out to be? It turned out to be resonant vibration, where there was a back pressure coming from the carburettor going into the fuel tank, and you have to open the lid of your fuel tank, start the bike and let the air escape because the air is bubbling up. So I had to sort the carburettor out anyway. Eventually it fixed itself, but I don't know. But anyway, so it vibrates. Anyway, it resonated with me a little bit because we just don't like bullies. And bearing in mind, during the time of Malcolm X's time, there was a big racial, there was a big anti-establishment movement because of the rights of black people. Like me, I seen like a film the other day where this woman, I can't remember her name, and I feel so bad for forgetting her name, but please bear with me, I forgot her name. But she stands up, and back in the 1960s, 1970s, they had the colour reds, right? They called it the colour reds, to sit at the back of the bus, and the whites to sit at the front. Now me, personally, I would have been the white guy that went and sat with the colour reds. I'd have had everybody hating me for it, and I'd have still been like, fuck you. Does he breathe the air that I breathe? Yes. Does he bleed blood like I can bleed blood? Yes. Is he a human being? Yes. Did human race originate from Africa? Yes. What have you got against dark skin? The fear was there was riddled with diseases and stuff like that, which I ain't even going to go into, because I don't really want to get into all that, and it's like dirty people or black devil, and because they came from somewhere that was so difficult, and then they came to the UK or they came to America or they went to whatever country they lived in, and they seen it was all white and everything was easier. We found it easier because we lived in a country where it was normal for us to live the way that we live, whereas these people come from a third world country or escaping and running away, and then they come to us and see how easy it is, and then they have a chip on their shoulder because we had to fight for our independence on our own soil, on our own ground, and people come over to our country and exploit our laws, benefit systems, etc. So we have a chip on our shoulder for that. White people, there are some white people that do, right? And you gotta hand it to them. It's their right to have a little bit of chip on the shoulder. Just don't impress it on everybody else. You know what I mean? Just keep them things to yourself, and hopefully when you die, those thoughts die. And those beliefs die. Right? But anyway. going forward, they then come to the conclusion and it's like, well, why is it so easy for the white man and difficult for us? And they just didn't get it. That the white person went through it for when possibly, I don't know, I wasn't there, but possibly they went through it all at the time of King Louis, when we was invaded by France and we lost the country and we was all told what to do, and medieval and capital punishments came in and all these types of things that were messing up the world. Or maybe it was just, and then they used Bibles to, etc., to justify their actions. Which, if you're justifying something back then justifying something now, you can't use it. It's a two-headed coin, you know what I mean? You're always going to lose on that argument. And unfortunately, religion always wins the cause of war. Always. Religion will always be the cause of war. Because everybody thinks their religion is right. In a nutshell. Did you know that the campus for Oracle systems was used as a representation for the Cyberdyne systems Terminator Genesis? That's interesting. But yeah, I'm a deviant type of criminal. But I've realised the dangers of being a deviant type of criminal, because your ideas of your deviance can influence others to commit deviance. And then that deviance can land them in trouble because people don't like it. But the thing is, some deviant criminals are just the same as a murderer. They're depressed, they get a rush, they get these problems, they get these issues, and then when they become deviant, they do something deviant and they feel better for a bit. Or they kill somebody and then feel better for a bit. It was on the news the other day with a psychology professor. No different to a deviant criminal. Alright, Wikipedia, I will donate £2, but I won't use my own bank account. Is that alright? But yeah, let's look at its corporate structures. Communications, construction and engineering, financial services, food and beverage, health sciences, hospitality, retail, energy and water. Woof! That's quite a build, that's quite a portfolio. That's like running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's one bloke with a team of people around a big desk with a bunch of shareholders that are sitting there right now discussing all the futures of these companies, creating apprenticeships for the youth, creating jobs for people, creating work, creating ideas and helping people fulfill their dreams, because their dreams were fulfilled themselves. You ever seen The Wolf of Wall Street? And it's true, I've worked within marketing and canvassing, like knocking on doors trying to sell stuff. It's hard. It's not easy. Like, you're on a basic wage of like 50 quid a week, and you're lucky if you get 1 or 2 dems, because you're getting like, you get 50 quid a dem or £100. You get 2 dems, you've only earned £150 a week. It's really difficult. I mean, really difficult until you get good. Right? And yeah. So and when I was there, when you watch The Wolf of Wall Street, the stockbroker, he stands there and says, I want people to be like me. I want them to have money. I want them to have riches. I want them to live the life that I live, to know that they don't have to work themselves into being a slave. And that is like the clincher, like the closer, or the trap of it, depending on what you want to say. Right? So that closes the person down to them go and work for them, because you believe this person wants the best for you. But he genuinely did. He'd give a woman $5 million to shave their hair. But that reminds me of Would You Rather, the movie Would You Rather, where there's a dying sick boy and they make them play Would You Rather and they kill so many people so this one woman can stick out the competition and win. And then they saved the dying boy, but because she played that thing that night, the dying boy felt the reason why his sister's fear was, it's not a true story. It's a interpretation of a game of Would You Rather kiss a shoe or lick dog poo. You know what I mean? I know I'd rather kiss my own shoe. But the thing is, not nobody else's, mate. Just so you know. Yeah, and then the boy kills himself because he feels that the reason why his sister's life isn't the way it wants to be, and the reason why she's in debt and she can't pay any bills, is because she has to work 3 jobs to pay for the medication, and the corporate head is so sadistic. It's kind of a sad story. It's a horror, but it's a shock to the way that some people's minds work. Because obviously you sit there and well, you shouldn't get it for free. You shouldn't just give it to you. You should have to do something for it at least. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. Anyway, that's the update on something going wrong with the software and the programming within the computer and what's going on, and an insight to. So Oracle in 2022, once they won the thingy, so what's 10% of 500 mil plus 300 mil is 800 million pounds. Between 1 and 10%. No, it's actually, no, yeah, it is 10%. Sorry, it's a good job I didn't go that way because it'd be 20%. So between 1 and 10% of 800 mil. So 10% would be 80 mil, wouldn't it? 1% would be 8 mil. Would be nice, wouldn't it? Just to wake up in the morning and £8 million is in your bank account. I wouldn't say shit to nobody, would you? I fucking wouldn't. There'd be some signs, don't get me wrong. There'd be some signs, like, you know, all of a sudden some buildings might pop up, but I do that by private contractors. I wouldn't use the local authority to do it, because then I would turn it into something different. 8 million. Imagine waking up in the morning and you have 80 million in your bank account for the full 10%. So you pay the collector, you pay the debt collector for it. You pay the debt collector what? What's he going to want? He's going to want 40% in it. So he gets 60 million. No, 40 million. So we'll give him 40 million. No, we won't give him 40 million, so he wants 40%. So he gets around 20 mil. Which then leaves me with 60. What other sponsors are in Red Bull's thing since they got their signing? It's not even about money for me. Like my second cousin died of a drug overdose. Well, it could have been a drug overdose, could have been something a lot worse. But I sat there and thought the other day, because he was homeless, and he was hung really. It was hung and pigeonholed for drug recovery services. And the local newspaper hung him up, said this is such and such a person, he's changing his life, he's moving forward, he's doing what he needs to do. And then 6 months later he relapsed and then never recovered ever again. In and out of prison, never recovered ever again. Because he was trying to feed his habits. And I thought to myself the other day, I was at a homeless shelter, and homeless shelters helped me out quite a lot. I ain't gonna lie, they've sort of like been able to put me into housing, accommodated housing, sheltered housing, things like that when I was homeless. Because when I was homeless, when I was 16, 17, probably about 17 years old when I left home, I didn't go down the wrong path. I just met all the right people at the right time within my life, and things lined up. You know what I mean? So everything was scattered and things became linear, and then scattered, and then linear again, and then something went off, and then everything's like, it was like a hard drive been defragmented, so you have to put it all back together. And it's sort of like trying to pick up those pieces from my life and put them back together. Do you know what I mean? From this defragmentation, like a grenade fragments, and it goes boom and spreads out. It's like my head is like trying to pick up all those broken pieces. For the last 10 years, for me, it's been trying to pick up all those broken pieces and put the grenade or the disk drive and put the files and the core beliefs and everything all back in their right places and rewire my whole brain. It's been very difficult. But anyway, and I didn't know about that, and I was homeless for near enough about at least 24 months, sleeping on people's sofas. I didn't even know about the doll. Then again though, I didn't have no friends or people that introduced me to drug dealing, which was a blessing. I used to rap and I used to MC. I had one appointment once to go down to 5HQ, and he said, come down, let's see what your Liverpool content is. I never turned up to that appointment. He said, come down on this such and such a day, and then I never went. I got sidetracked, I had to go see my bird and go get my dick wet. What can I say? I'm 17 years old. But yeah, so I started sofa surfing, staying with people, staying on people's floors, pretty much just falling to the ground, right? Nobody to help me up, tried to move it back in with my parents, but you know, me and my parents didn't see eye to eye, so I always felt like I wasn't welcome at home. I went to go to my real biological father's and my biological dad's a couple of times, and he said, we don't have a bedroom to put you. It was always a sofa. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, so it's like for the last 10 years I've been trying to put myself back together from when I was 17, before I ever left home. Or even further before that, when I was 9 or 10, when I went to go live with my biological dad. To be the person I could be. I know the person and the path I should be, which is stuff like this, for example. And I don't know why I'm sharing it with you on YouTube. I just like to share it with you on YouTube. So I've written out some ideas for verses, right? So, such as, there's a big gun crime at the minute for the people within gun crime, and I'm a kind of a righteous person in a way, and I see things differently. So it says, why don't the United States just start selling non-lethal for home and personal protection? But that's that's like a bar to then lead on to another rhyme. Right? Homage, and then this one here is homage to the heart of Pac, blindsided, cut short by his own ideas and visions. So there's some edits in here I have to make. Because some of it's pure truth and some of it needs to be edited. So bail from jail, come out and make digital underground major. Just tell them this attitude is in him, get the real to follow him, CEO, then go into East Coast death row because he's learnt the music business before he became the musician. And then there's another one here which is it's not even rhyming, half of it, it's just was thoughts yesterday. And then obviously, so this is the thing here. Basically, one studio album, one cheap, studio only, cheap, and possibly free marketing, because there is ways to get free marketing out there, right, by putting people on commission to sell his records. If they sell his records, they get 2% of whatever the record costs, whatever, because there are people out there that will do that kind of stuff because it's their way of the door opening for them, right? So on the main volume of what he sells, so if he prints off 10,000 albums, they get 2% of 10,000 albums, which is £200,000. You've already put the profit markup on the album thing, so you've already accounted for the percentage, right? So would have cleared his books and had an encore to his vision of a peaceful envisioned revolution. If it weren't for Biggie, in my own life I'd be feeding into the beef. Fuck this shit. I ain't no 5-finger discounter. I'm no longer a thief. You know what I mean? But that's just some ideas that are just sort of on there. I've got quite a few ideas I've been writing, to be fair. Since I did that freestyle the other day, I was like, it just sparked me off. And then since I did one little rhyme, it's not got no rhyming structure to it, but I can make that a rhyming structure. And I mentioned Tupac and Biggie because they were the most commercial ones. But there is a bar that I'm going to write down here now. Hall of Fame. Audience. Put to shame. For applauding hip hop, but not those who were killed or shot. So that one is obviously a Hall of Fame, audience put to shame for applauding hip hop, but not for who were killed and shot. But anyway, that's pretty much where I'm at. Anyway, I'm going to go. I'm going to have a quick race. hopefully I can get a Channel 4 app, or get my TV area working so I can watch Formula 1. And then just enjoy the racing. I mean, it wouldn't be too bad if it wasn't for the commentators somehow. I wouldn't get like sick on it. I just really find it difficult to enjoy the racing. And this becomes the problem at times. But then again, this is needed at the same time, because there are people that don't have a voice to speak up for themselves. Like when I was at court with my daughter, I knew that my barrister wasn't doing her job. I just knew it. So I stood up and said, fuck this, I'm representing myself. Stop the courtroom right there. Halt. Boom. Judges stormed out, exited left. Right. They stormed out, all three magistrates stormed out, exited left. Oh, ain't you clever? Right. And then I had to go speak to my solicitor, and then my solicitor talked me around to continuing with the barrister. I had some outdated laws and this, that and the other, but I could have used a legal advisor. Because as long as I make reference to the legal advisors that sit there and then for the judge on family law, because I would have said stuff like, why does the guardian have the children's rights and looking out for the best interest of the child? What plan does the guardian have for the life of my child? And how is the guardian going to exercise my child's rights? I would have questioned the place and brought up all the things that they said for my triggers, my mental health triggers, that they triggered me off 3 times as bad. I'd ask them why they do things such as, why does a child have to stay in the nursery and you can't take them to your room? Are you uprooting the child, and this is the court prejudicial, and have you already made your decision within the IRO, within the social services network, to remove the child? And now you're just creating a case to remove the child. And I would have made them explain themselves, because then once I have that information, I can then answer, and then we're having an assessment verbally in front of the judge, and that's how it should be. Because the judge isn't daft. A judge is educated. A magistrate is educated. They're not daft, right? So is a guardian. A guardian's educated. A legal advisor. They're all educated people. Just because we're uneducated doesn't mean that we can't be seen as parents, and the type of futures and the level of support that we would need to provide the correct future for our children, such as signposting for work, such as signposting for doors to be opened for financial services, etc., etc., to breathe you a break. That doesn't mean that the local authority can't turn around and say, right, okay, within these first 6 months we want you to make these changes. Does that make sense? We want you on your medication, and we need, no, not we want you, we need you to be on your medication. We need you to be on your medication. We need you to demonstrate being calm, and we need you to go to those therapy classes. These are all the places of therapy classes. The court will then make the relevant phone calls to make sure all these things happen, because all this money then can be saved instead of going to an assessment centre. So instead of spending all this money on assessment centres and temporary foster care placements for foster children, why not spend it on supporting the families? Right? But don't forget, there still has to be a budget that's set aside. So we need to work out a ratio of how many children would end up getting taken into local authority care, and how many children have the chance of genuinely returning home based on the first 3 instances at court. Emergency care order, totally different, don't get me wrong. But what is the main risk for the emergency care order And I don't think any unintentional harm, emotional harm and neglect for a baby should be classed as any reason to put a child into adoption. The reason why that person is at risk of unintentional harm or neglect is because of their personal circumstances that go on in their lives. Okay? So therefore, if the local authority within that boundary, just that one boundary, and how when you get into a fight with somebody trying to protect your daughter from inhaling cannabis on somebody that at the time was smoking a lot of cannabis, and inside the house, I was not surprised my daughter had E. coli, where the floor's dirty and my daughter's, okay, fair enough, my daughter was in the pushchair, but you know, she could have been playing on the floor. When my daughter has to sit in the pushchair, she can't play on the floor, etc. Right? Me going round and having an argument and the police having to be called, why would that amount to an emergency care order? Why would two people not splitting up amount to an occur? Because before that happened, before that police phone call was made, and before certain things, where basically Tamsin never had a voice and somebody spoke for her because she was fearful of her family, of her brothers. And this is what she's told me. She won't tell you this because she gets fearful of the repercussions. I'll take the repercussions, Kyle, because it ain't nobody else but me and you. Right? And I'll tell you because it's only going to be them that's pissed off, nobody else, not getting anybody else involved. And saying that I was coercive controlling, when really I was trying to raise my daughter. But at the time, until that phone call came in, you know, and until that happened at the health visitor, everything was fine at the health visitor. Health visitor sat there and went, okay, we'll monitor it and we'll speak to Dad. Yeah, and it remains to be seen. But then when the police report comes in, and all you do is want your daughter out of cannabis air, you want your daughter home so you can get her into her routine to then get ready to provide a sense of routine, because the child, a baby, will feel more secure if they know their bedtime and their wake up time, because it sets their body clock for their routine. Plus, you have things to get done around the house, and then they know where their feeds are, etc., etc. Right? Plus, you can rest yourself or do whatever you need to get done in time for yourself. There's always the daytime to take children around to people's houses. There is always a Saturday or a Sunday when they're not working, so then they can come around here. If they wanted to see Charlotte that much, why didn't they come to this address? Okay, so everything was working fine with Donna Ramsell. Donna Ramsell had this thing about, she had this thing going on about a child's gone missing and they've gone looking for her. So they had to scoot off. Which to me is a lot of bullshit, because I know children that have been in the local authority thing and they are too afraid to call their social worker and say I'm staying out for the night because I'm going to get into trouble and I'll have to move house. They will change my foster care placement. Don't even get me started on foster care placements and how it should be ran. Foster care placements, no child in foster care, right? No child in foster care, or not even like, do you know when they get this adoptive care where they go to a care home where the government said they've adopted them? The government said, right, we found your child, because within the law books, I've got it in a book somewhere, they turn around and they say, right, right, if you cannot find a child adopter within 12 months of the order being made, right, they have to consider putting them into child care. Whereas before, the law was the child has to be returned to their parents. Now, in extreme cases, such as myself, physical harm, other harms, and yes, emotional harm and neglect, right? The neglect part is dangerous, you know, because people neglect to feed their children and neglect to clean them up and neglect to look after them. I'm not a neglectful father, nor am I a neglectful dad. Neither is Tamsin. We was never neglectful. There was at times where Tamsin would have been neglectful, such as running low on nappies, so you're eking the nappy out for such a long time that it's near enough hanging off their arse because of the expense and the price of baby nappies. And me being me, I'm like, I'm not putting my baby in cheap Alde Mamma Mia pants. I would rather go without a pack of fags or go without something for a week, so then I can afford decent nappies to prevent the baby rash on my baby's bum. Because baby rash is horrible. So how would you like it if I turn around and said to you, you've got to wear them same boxers for a week, for all day, and you cannot go to the toilet and you've got to piss and shit in them, and you change the nappy every fucking 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours. That's probably the level of neglect that there was, if you had to put any level of neglect down. But that's what everybody does. You ask the people, and the people turn around to you and go, yeah, I do that too, I've still got my kids. I've had to do that once or twice before, I've still got my kids. But you will give 2 children to a person that used to be a drug dealer in school and sleep with underage girls while they're in a paedophile ring. Literally, they're all old enough, they've all got all underage girls, but then again, they're already sexually active from young ages. You know what I mean? It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It depends. You know what I mean? But 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And he has both of his kids. Because he was a drug dealer in school. But he is so wrong. But then again, according to law, you can still have a child regardless of whatever crime you do. That's your human right, okay? So your human right, whatever crime you may have done, your human right is still to have a family. In black and white. No more, no less. You can still have a family. Regardless of anything. Now, if you've been convicted of committing a murder and you've snapped. Now, I'm not the type of snapper. I'm a snapper, but I'm a verbal snapper. Right? I'll snap and I'll verbally snap, or go to do something, then I'll calm down. Right? So, for example, I'll never harm my kids or snap at anything else. But if I feel like somebody's like provoking me and I'm being provoked, so if I'm being provoked by a person in the street And I'm sitting there, I'm being quiet, I'm trying to hold my cool, right? So you've held your cool for about 2-3 years on this issue, or what, 10 years on an issue, and you've just kept your cool about it, and you've gone, right, I'm going to do this the right way, and I'm going to get everything sorted. Then it continues to happen and happen and happen and happen and happen. That's when you get to the point of snapping. Right, such as this with my computer and with my internet connection. I would be snapping my head off if I didn't have an outlet for it. I always write stuff down. So if I'm pissed off, I write it down and get it out of my system. Sit on the toilet or sit in the back garden or whatever, fucking put the whole fucking world to rights and tell them how I really fucking think about them, and then it's gone. Right? But snapping at a child, nah, not at all. Not at all. And so if they've gone to prison and they've committed a thing and said, oh, I just snapped, I seen red, and then they get booked for manslaughter, these are the laws. These are the people that are a risk to children, because there is a government statistic that says there is a 96% chance that you will grow up to be like your parents. Lucky for me, I had 2 dads and 2 mums. I had a stepmom, a biological mum, a dad, and a stepdad. Right? Or that way around. I don't know. But anyway. So I can pick and choose who I want to grow up to be like. Some of these children don't have a choice. You know, it all depends on what's imprinted in them, such as their core values, beliefs, and all those types of things. This is just my opinion. It's not an educated opinion. It's just my opinion. I'm just trying to sound smart so I don't look dumb. But I look dumb trying to sound smart. I know. It's complete freaking, what's the word? See, I'm being dumb again. But yeah. And there's a 96% chance of growing up to be like your biological parents. And that's a statistic from 2006. Because it was something we discussed with a social worker with my mum. When she was going through domestic violence abuse, and they had to come round and talk to her, and they was giving her these thinking tools like, come on, it's easier to step up a ladder, but it's harder to step down. It's easier to step down, but harder to step up a step. It's harder to climb, it's harder to take that first step over the ledge to climb up a mountain, but it's easier to abseil down and rope down a mountain, you know what I mean? And those types of things. And then each time you take a step up, the steps begin to get easier. You know what I mean? But yeah. And then it's one of those things. So my children being taken into care was not on no so shit, wasn't on no criminal shit. It was all political opportunity. I already had one son taken away from me by the local authority. That's all that they needed. They didn't need to take another child from me. But yeah, to put it into a song and sell it for myself, who'd really be bothered? I've already had my name dragged through the mud. I've had reputation shot to bits. I just don't believe anybody would buy, because they'll be like, oh, it's him, I ain't buying his shit, you know what I mean? And it'll be a waste of money and a waste of time, because the kind of shit, you know, you've just had a little bit of an insight of some of my inspirations and the kind of person that I am. Like, oh, that's weak, that's right. And today's English hip hop is not hip hop. English hip hop is all about beef. It's not about actual genuine hip hop where the hip hop started. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not about black slavery. Right? It's not about racial tensions. It's about a country or things standing up for their human rights, and then finding a balance between law, your civil rights. Malcolm X was a civil rights movement, and your human rights, and getting the right balance for us all to live by. That's what hip hop is to me. Hip hop to me isn't about slave. I see that kind of shit as kind of like, yeah, it was wrong, totally wrong, should never have happened. Do you know how many people went through pain, physical pain, deaths, murderers, hangings, lynchings, all that kind of shit, because you didn't understand or care or have empathy for another human life that you was bringing in. And it was all legal back then to be able to have a slave. I mean, why would you have a slave who cooks, cleans, washes dishes, does everything for you, whip him on his back, and then give him free run of your house? You're just daft, ain't you? You don't. If you did that, if you was living in somebody's house today as a slave, right, and they give you free run of the house, right, and you're being whipped, everything like that, what are you gonna do? What would a white person do? They would go, fuck you, mate. I'm stealing all your shit and I'm fucking off. No word of a lie. That's what they would do. But why is it when Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, he was shot by a Jew, and all those people around him told him that he could not have his personal security guard with him? We all seem to follow the pattern. Not one of us decides to go, do you know what? I'm not walking. I don't care if you tell me it's my time to die. I ain't letting myself go out like that. Not a chance. Not a chance. Like, Abraham Lincoln's told to carry without his weapon and his bodyguard. I'll tell you something now, I'm like, you know it's on, right? And it's like a test of faith. You can't believe in anything. If you believe in the Holy Spirit, and you believe that the Holy Spirit is within you, or God, or Christ, or the Spirit of God, then why don't you trust your own judgments? Why did he still go to that theatre show knowing? Like I said, if I weren't so misogynistic, I'd be alright. I'd have learnt all this a long time ago, and conversations could take place at dinner tables about the reasons and the things of what we should say and what we shouldn't say. But this is probably the only time you will hear these things. Like, for example, why would anybody move forward. For example, Abraham Lincoln. Why did he ride shotgun in the car? He's a celebrity. Why didn't he sit in the back seat? Nobody would have ever known he was in the car. Got to have rang alarm bells. But, you know, given the world that he's in, but that's what happens. Like, when I was speaking to the police officer earlier, the power of a voice that isn't afraid to speak out needs to be careful of who he's speaking up against. And I learned from watching hip-hop documentaries, rappers' interviews from years and years and years ago, back in the 90s, right, that certain rappers spoke truth to power and people didn't like it. The people liked it, but speaking truth to power, they do not like. But anyway, peace, love. Let's get Zelensky and Putin in the boxing ring and have it like Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali fighting it out. But anyway, I need to find out what's going on with my computer at some point. Anyway, see you later.